right, hello, welcome to the Mazza Inner Circle Wine Club, and today we are coming to you from the private tasting room here at the South Shore Wine Company, and we're going to be tasting through the Winemaker's Selection shipment today. So in your packet, you've got some tasting notes to follow along as well, and I'm Mario Mazza.
I'm Blaine Ballard.
And so we've got three wines to take you through today, all very different styles, but something to just show kind of a little bit of a breadth of what I really think from a winemaking perspective are fun wines to make. So we're going to start off, I guess like you should start every day off, with a little bit of bubbles. So we've got a sparkling here to start with, and this is the South Shore Wine Company Sparkling Chardonnay. So this is a traditional method, or method champenois sparkling wine. So it's secondary fermentation in the bottle, made from Chardonnay. So kind of the equivalency of if you drink champagne to be Blanc de Blanc. So we're making a white wine from white grapes. In Champagne, the accepted varieties are not only Chardonnay, but Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. This is just a single varietal, so we're using just Chardonnay and very intentionally harvesting, pressing, and processing, making that wine specifically for sparkling base.
These grapes are all locally sourced, correct?
Yes, so these are all from the Moorhead farm. So John and Cindy and Mike Moorhead, pioneers of vinifera grape growing here in the Lake Erie region, been great grape growing partners for decades with us. So we have a specific block of Chardonnay that we harvest early to retain the acidity that we want to capture in the sparkling wine, ferment the base wine, and then bottle it, take it through secondary fermentation, and then all the processes of riddling and disgorging before we release it. So you got that natural, effervescence coming through, again, all naturally produced. Sparklings can kind of range from that kind of fruit-driven to maybe a little bit more aged characteristics, and this is one that we tend to drive a little bit more fruit characteristic. It's not left on lees or sur lees for an extraordinarily long time, in a matter of months, not years, and that just helps drive that citrus character through.
Yeah, very traditional method, drinks very similar to French champagne, and it's celebratory. It's very nice.
So, and I don't know, what are some things, I think this just pairs well with, any time of day, maybe orange juice before
orange
noon.
juice in the morning. Actually, one of my favorite sparkling pairings is fried chicken. Believe it or not, I think it works really well. The Christmas bubbles and the acidity seem to come through that fat and fried chicken, and that's a strange pairing, but that's one of my favorite champagne pairings.
Excellent, something to try. Fantastic. So jumping from sparkling, we're going to take a big step in some ways to an ice wine. So ice wine for us is something we've done here at Mazza, and this is from Mazza Vineyards, for over 30 years. We've been doing it since the early 80s, started same year as some very big name producers up in Canada, Enniskillen for instance. So this is the process of taking a grape, letting it freeze naturally on the vine, pressing it while it's still frozen, and retaining all that natural sweetness. We've left out the water now because it's frozen and left behind as ice. And this is a traditional Germanic style of winemaking, which really kind of is a bit of a nod to our first winemaker, Helmut Kranick, who was from the Geisenheim Institute, graduate from that institution in the 70s and joined us and was our first winemaker for a number of years in the early 70s. Really fun wine to make, beyond the fact that you're going out and picking grapes when it's maybe in the low teens.
Yeah, there's a lot of requirements that have to be met in the harvest of these grapes, isn't there?
Yeah, so it's 17 degree Fahrenheit or below to get the grapes to freeze naturally. So a lot of times we're out at 5 or 6 in the morning starting to pick before the sun's even coming up to make sure we get them off the vine while they're still frozen. But all of the residual sweetness, all that intensity is basically kind of that natural process of extracting the water. So very concentrated, extremely high residual sweetness. We're talking 16%. Very sweet pairings for this.
Kind of versatile. You can use it pre-dinner with a charcuterie board. If you have some nice fruits and some high-quality cheeses on there, this will really complement a lot of that. Use it as an after-dinner drink as well, and a lot of people drink it just on its own that are a big fan of the style.
Yeah, I think in that dessert pairing, it just dessert pairing with itself is really all it needs.
Right.
I would say dessert, one of the things I would probably avoid is actually chocolate. I would probably go with like a blue vein cheese or something eat at the end of the meal would be really great for this as well, something you might not really expect or anticipate.
Yeah, no, it's very nice with the sweetness. It just lends itself to dessert and anything that would be kind of fruit related or have a little bit of astringency like a blue vein cheese or something.
The other thing that I should mention is one of our goals with this wine is also to retain some acidity, because some ice wines can be so sweet they're cloying, and they're just overly sweet, and there's no acidity acidity or backbone to support that. Our goal is with that winemaking is still, even though it's extremely sweet, to have that acidic backbone to support that wine. I think you'll find that in this vintage. Great wine also for aging. I had the great fortune of doing a historical vertical. We did 6 different vintages going back 15 years with a group of wine professionals a couple years ago. It was really cool to pull wines out of our library going back into the 90s even, which we're getting up into, I think 18 years old was the oldest wine that we tasted. It's amazing to hold up. We still have wines actually from all the way back to our first vintage in the library, so it's pretty neat when we have a special occasion to open one of those.
Yeah, very cool.
Perhaps a future release for the Winemaker's selection. Release here.
It's I think it's remarkable that when you get something that sweet and the acidity is still there, you're picking up all those flavors and it keeps coming. You get a lot of different individual flavors with the finish, and the finish will go on for miles.
Yeah. With that, and we're kind of tossing up back and forth which wine, to flight, and I think you'd always kind of make a couple different arguments. The last wine here, the third wine is again from South Shore Wine Company. It's the Forte of Chambourcin. So this is our take on a ruby style port. Chambourcin is not necessarily a traditional port or fortified variety, but it's a variety that does really well here. It's versatile. It can make a red wine. We do a lot of rosé with this variety, but it also makes a wonderful fortified wine. And the fortification spirit, we're actually producing our own distillery, our sister operation, 5 and 20 Spirits. So still kind of kept in-house. Again, take the grapes from a production standpoint, harvest the grapes, start fermentation, but we stop the fermentation by adding the alcohol, the fortification spirit, partway through the ferment. The sweetness in here, again, is all natural, so no added sugar. We put this into used whiskey barrels actually to age for about a year. So again, we're not aging it for an extremely long period of time. That keeps it that ruby style. So that refers to the fact that it's still got that bright ruby color. It's not gone brick and kind of orange hues. And you'll get some more fruit characteristics in this, not just age characteristics that you might get in other port styles, things like vintage ports.
Yeah, definitely. Getting the fruit, the Chambourcin, you can recognize that in there, but the richness and opulence of this, like across the board in this whole selection, really comes through. And a glass of port for dessert is ideal. And this screams that. So
fantastic. So we hope you enjoy this selection. These are some great wines to enjoy with with friends, with family. With some maybe unexpected pairing, including that fried chicken.
Fried chicken champagne.
So, thanks again for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.